But today I'm speaking about, the theme A Hungry World Likes Fish Too Much. And it's fascinating because, as a filmmaker, as I mentioned, I've worked for all sorts of different groups. And some of those groups are wild caught fisheries. And today I'll be speaking about a series of clips that we made for Australian wild prawns. And I'm sharing this story with you because I think there are some things that can be learnt from their journey. And so in 2020, it might have been 19, I can't remember, but amongst other jobs, Millstream spent 12 months recording prawn industry stories right around Australia. And what I liked about the campaign was that it illustrated that honesty with the consumer is really important. We found that industry needed to own their problems, and where possible, look for and present their solutions. And that's something that we really love to focus on in our work, is producing work where you see a solution. We worked with Sarah Ugaldi, in Tassie on POMs. I think that clip we made down there with IMAS won a national award. Just trying to find solutions to problems that the ocean has, and there are so many problems. So this work to me is really important. So you're aware, we work for lots of different people at Parks Australia, CSIRO, the Department of Environment, NITV and SBS and the ABC and numerous others. We produce everything from ethnographic films, as I mentioned, to documentaries, explainer clips, funny animations, you name it, we make it. We work with loads of scientists, and wherever possible, we like to underpin all our industry clips or all our clips, with credible science. A common theme for our films is always looking for a solution or giving hope, and so given today's topic, A Hungry World Likes Fish Too Much, in many respects, I couldn't agree more, but I'm not an expert. I'm just a filmmaker. So all I do is share stories that people share with us, and I personally think it's kind of easy to tar all fishers with the same brush, and that we need to be careful, when an industry is attempting to do the right thing, that we give them a voice or at times a right of reply, and we should hear them out. This is their lives. They want to be there doing what they do, and that's why I think I was attracted to their stories, being a small business person and meeting a plethora of other small business people who were fishermen, and just seeing how passionate they were, that they still had a twinkle in their eye and a pep in their step. Not unlike Derek, it's pretty endearing. I think it's great, to meet people who love what they do. So the caveat for Millstream is that that's provided that our clients are being transparent and owning what they need to work on or are working on, etc. And then if they do this, then we're committed to helping them share their stories and their successes. That's not to say that all of our clients have fixed all their problems, but we attempt to give our clients a voice and give them credit where credit is due. If someone were to ask me, have I ever knocked back a job? Yeah, I have. There's projects, and I don't really want to put myself in court, but there's projects, and this isn't seafood related. This is other industries where people have asked us to go and produce a story. And we do say no. So I just wanted you to be aware of that as well. Like sometimes, you just have to say no, and we've done that a number of times. But and an example, of the work that we've done for Australian wild prawns is the industry. They worked out that they had a problem. They worked out that the community at the time cared about 4 big issues, and 2 of them were environment related. One was bycatch. We're about to see a clip about that shortly. And another one was fisheries management. The public wanted to know that if prawn fishers were going out there and they were trawling, that there would be prawns left out there, for, in time immemorial. They wanted it to be a sustainable resource. And so that's how this project came about. But there was another issue, which is about trust in food. And the last one was about respecting people and communities. And it turned out that the industry actually cared about all those things too. So it was a kind of cool project because we got to go out and answer the community's questions in the form of documentaries. And I found it fascinating. And if the prawn industry didn't do that, with the advent of aquaculture and some of the huge prawn farms that are being developed in the north of Queensland at the moment, or in Queensland, and the Northern Territory, they wouldn't have a future, So for me, it was, I felt that this was important work for those guys and their families. So we were engaged to travel around Australia and to speak to scientists and fishermen and innovators and entrepreneurs. And the greatest reveal for me doing this work was that in many cases, the fishers we worked with wanted to own their problem. They wanted their fishery to stay healthy now and into the future. And I'm not just saying that, no prawns, what's the point of sending the boat out, and how are you going to keep your business going? So how did we do this? Well, we attempted to present stories that engaged an audience, that acknowledged problems with transparency, but also to film the sorts of things that they were working on to solve the problems. And the first clip that I'm going to show today, it's just a short one. It's a teaser, if you like, which is called, from a suite of clips called What We Care About. And it can be found on the Australian Wild Prawns website. And here's the first teaser. It's called Providence, Trust and Transparency. Thanks, guys.
I think consumers are faced with so many decisions when they enter a supermarket. Has it been produced in an ethical way? Is it sustainable? And they want to trust the food that they're buying.
We care about our environment. We care about the way that our products are made.
By lifting the veil, you show you've got nothing to hide.
They do want industries to be taking steps to sharing more information. Show us how this is done.
Thanks very much. So that is a teaser. It's just grabbing small pieces out of a much longer clip that was produced for the campaign. I think there were 14 clips produced in full. Some were stories about the fisheries themselves, and others were stories about what the industry cared about and what the public cared about, and that's one of them. What I was going to go on to say was that Providence, Trust and Transparency hits a number of really important themes about the community's demand for transparency. So even if the public don't want to know all the details, they don't want to read a great big scientific report because there's tons of them out there. They want to know that their food is being produced in a way that meets their ethical expectations. And so I guess that's what we did. We took the science and we like to try and condense it into a short documentary that people could consume that hit the major marks, if you like. There was a really interesting social media post that came up around the campaign. I've got it saved on my desktop, but I'm not going to even try to share it with you, but I'll talk to it. And it was by a guy whose son worked as a prawn fisherman in the Great Australian Bight. And he said that his son would often trawl up to 50% bycatch. That's mind-blowingly devastating. And when you hear that, it just made me feel physically ill. And so when we went to do this work, the first question I had is, well, what's your answer to bycatch? And there's a couple of brothers, although there was a competition run by the Northern Prawn Fishery, and they put it out there. They said that what they wanted to do was they wanted to see if they could develop a device that would enable bycatch to escape. And so basically they did. They created this device called Tom's fish eye that they named after their dad, and it had the most enormous effect on reducing bycatch. So here's an example of another teaser clip from the Australian Wild Prawns campaign about industry-driven bycatch innovation. And you'll see in the bycatch clip that it isn't trying to pull punches. You do see bycatch, but it does share the story of an incredible innovation that's currently being used by boats in the Northern Prawn Fishery and now being adopted by prawn fishers around Australia. So thanks, fellas. Off to the next clip.
Food itself has one of the largest impacts on biodiversity globally.
Around the world, there were concerns with the ratio of bycatch to prawn catch, and that something had to be done.
The Tom's fish eye when it goes through the water, creates a bit of a turbulence.
And the fish are attracted to that. Once they get into that vortex of the cone, they're inclined to then escape through the top.
It's our kids' livelihood. If we kept going the way we were going, there wouldn't be much left for them.
Thanks, guys. The fishers and scientists, etc., that we interviewed for the campaign, they were real people. And regarding the fishers, none of them that we interviewed were jumping out of their skin to share their story. They're pretty nervous, to say it, like me at the moment. Many of them are the sorts of people that like to keep to themselves. They speak because they care about their industry. And for many of them, prawning is the only occupation they feel called to do or that they love. And I just want to say that now too, you know, like I'm speaking today as a filmmaker. I'm not speaking as an advocate for this industry. I'm just sharing the story that they shared with me. And I found it really compelling and eye-opening. They were an amazing bunch of people to work with. Finally, here's another clip called We Live for the Wild, and it kind of captures the people that work in the fishery. And it's interesting, Derek was talking about the young people that work for him. And there's an awful lot of them that work in the prawn industry. So here's a little teaser for We Live for the Wild.
Australia is considered a world leader in terms of its fisheries management.
We always want to touch the earth lighter today than we did yesterday.
We're the first ones to put our hand up if something's not right.
It's just water and nature and amazing sunsets and sunrises.
I got my heart set on it. I've had my heart set on it since I was a little boy.
It's all exciting and in the job, part and parcel of it, yeah. Part of fishing.
Thanks again, guys. I just got goose pimples just thinking back to some of those interviews. Just such lovely people to work with. And what was interesting is that, again, that's only a tiny teaser. Like when we produced the campaign, we made those little clips that circulated on social media. And then they segued through to, if the person watched the end of it, then they got the option to click on a button and get to see the full clip. And it took them to the Australian Wild Prawns website where they could really do a deep dive into the whole industry, and it covered so much really informative material. Again, getting away from the scientific reports that supported the industry and that support the fisheries, but delivering it in a way that's more consumable to the public. I think Kate would understand that extension side of things and how important it is. Finally, as an Australian, I think the benchmark in public recognition of sustainable innovation are the Banksia Awards. And the Banksia Foundation is a non-for-profit organisation that believes in the power of social environmental impact through community engagement and sustainable business practices. And to quote them, they believe that positive change inspires action, and our prestigious annual awards highlight outstanding innovation leadership across Australia. I'd like to share an example of one of our client stories. This is the Northern Prawn Fishery that whose story we shared in the Australian Wild Prawns campaign. But this clip was produced just for them. And it was made in 2021 for the Banksia Foundation Sustainability Awards, which the NPF were a finalist, a huge achievement given, the competitive nature of the awards. So this is our final clip. I found this one mind-blowing, what these guys have done to try and keep their industry and to make it sustainable. Thanks, fellas. very much. Oh, just one last little thing. Just in closing, I wanted to say I think that the Bankstory Awards goal to learn from the past, be present today and ignite a bright future is one that speaks to Australian wild prawns, but also to the industries like aquaculture and Derek's Pippy, organisation. We're all about a brighter future. It speaks to the Australian wild prawn industry, and that's why Millstream Productions agreed to produce their stories. We felt that here was an industry that had an important story to share and that they deserved the opportunity to share it so that the public would become better informed about the industry and the science that supports it. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.